माथे पे तेरे चांद का टीका लगाएंगे, आँखों में तेरी ख्वाब के तारे सजाएंगे। माथे पे तेरे चांद का टीका लगाएंगे, आँखों में तेरी ख्वाब के तारे सजाएंगे। होठों पे तेरे प्यार के नगमे खिलाएंगे। तू देखना वतन तुझे कैसा सजाएंगे, तू देखना वतन तुझे कैसा सजाएंगे, तू देखना वतन तुझे कैसा सजाएंगे, सजाएंगे।
The land of diversity, the land of culture, land of religion. The land of intellectuals and artists. Above all, the paradise on earth. India is the land of legends. It has many historical monuments. India has a peculiar feature, its ability to absorb anything and turn that into uniquely Indian. India is diverse in every aspect, whether it is clothing, religion, foods, or celebrations. India has many hidden stories in its womb. Let us have a quick look into the history of India.
From the beginning, history of India has been shaped by its geography. Indian Peninsula is a huge landmass with strong natural barriers. In the north, Himalayan mountains, east Purvanchal mountain range, west Great Indian Desert, western Ghats and eastern Ghats, south is the joining place of three water bodies, Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea.
It is in the north of India, in the plains of River Indus, that we find the heart of ancient Indian civilization. Here we find evidence of a civilization which was 5,500 years old, the Indus Valley Civilization, also known as the Harappan Civilization. Mesopotamian civilization is considered the first in the world, but on the contrary, in India there flourished a much advanced civilization. Indus Valley streets are excellent specimens of advanced engineering skills. The streets were in a grid arrangement which were all built with burnt brick. Archaeological evidences contain citadels, granaries, one of the well-known structures of Mohenjo-daro was the Great Bath. The most distinctive feature of Harappan cities was the carefully planned drainage system, which revealed how sophisticated the civilization was. Urban life is the most intriguing feature. Harappans lived a sophisticated life. They were farmers who grew wheat, barley, and cotton. They were skilled in jewelry work and metal work. Weights and measures used were standardized. A fine degree of accuracy, much bigger than Mesopotamia. In Lothal, there was a dock where cargo was loaded with Indus Valley goods and sent to Mesopotamia. Language is not deciphered, so the best information we can gather is from terracotta seals. There were several goddesses and gods that were worshipped.
In 2500 BCE, Indus Valley civilization started to decline. 1500 BCE saw the arrival of new people in the Indus Valley. Invaders from the north, the Aryans, their cultures were written down in a book known as Vedas. Rig Veda is the oldest book of the world. Vedas, less than historical accounts, Vedas are sacred in writing and they give a lot of social ideas of those times. Who spread across the fertile plain of the Indus Valley. They were tribal herdsmen, nomadic warriors. We know that the Vedic period were divided into 4 Varnas: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. 1500 BCE, basic principle of Hindu culture firmly established in the Varna system.
Around 600 BCE, we see the origins of Jainism and Buddhism, the two ancient religions that developed in Magadha and still continue to thrive in the modern age. From 500 BCE, India started emerging as a nation of 16 Janapadas, the first and the biggest being the Mauryan Empire, founded by Chandragupta Maurya in 321 BCE in Magadha. We come across famous universities of Nalanda and Takshashila and the eminent Acharya, philosopher, jurist and royal advisor Vishnugupta Chanakya during this age. Rulers of Magadha were outstanding warriors. The son and grandson of Chandragupta proved to be great military leaders. From 262 BCE, Ashoka controlled almost the whole of the Indian peninsula. Historical evidences have been found in the form of writings from the Edicts of Ashoka, a collection of more than 30 inscriptions on pillars, cave walls and boulders. Ajanta caves are globally regarded as masterpieces of Buddhist religious art. These caves are covered with mural paintings that depict the life of the Buddha. From 319 to 467 AD, there emerged another powerful dynasty, the Gupta dynasty. India once again became a vast and unified land under Chandragupta I, Samudragupta I and Chandragupta II of the Gupta dynasty. Peace and prosperity prevailed in India. Hinduism revived under the Guptas. Hinduism diverged into 2 cults. The Vishnu worshippers were called the Vaishnavas and the Shiva worshippers were the Shaivas. The Gupta dynasty ultimately crumbled at the end of the 5th century AD. By the end of the 6th century AD, the Rajputs had established their power in north and central India. The Rajputs were great warriors. The Khajuraho group of temples were built during the rule of the Chandela dynasty of Rajputs. The temples are famous for their Nagara style of architecture. The Rashtrakuts. The Rashtrakoot was a royal dynasty ruling large parts of the Indian subcontinent between the 6th and 10th centuries. It was a vast kingdom in South India. Their contribution was the Kailasanatha temple, the largest of the rock-cut Hindu temples at the Ellora caves in Maharashtra. By the 10th century AD, Buddhism had almost left India and established itself in countries like China, Korea, and Japan.
A new threat was looming in the West, a young religion which already dominated from Spain to Indian border. Islam. Early 11th century, a Muslim warrior launched terrifying raids in India. Muhammad of Ghazni, the most unpopular figure in the Indian history, mainly his agenda was accumulation of booty to embellish his capital. 1186 AD, Islam arrived in the Indian heartland under the leadership of Muhammad Ghori, swept across the country, slaughtering the forces of Rajputs in blood battle. 1206, Ghori reached Bengal, but in the same year, he died. But his successor, Slave Qutbuddin Aibak, established Delhi Sultanate. The Delhi Sultanate legacy was carried on by Iltutmish, Razia Sultan, and so on.
The Vijayanagara Empire was emerged in the mid-14th century and soon encompassed most of South India. At Hampi, on the banks of river Tungabhadra, was made the imperial capital of Vijayanagara, or the city of victory. Sri Krishnadevaraya was the most famous ruler of Vijayanagara. Tenali Raman was an Indian poet, scholar, thinker, and a special advisor in the court of Sri Krishnadevaraya.
Threat of invaders continues. Ultimately, it was a Mongol and Timurid descent made a far impact on story of India. The territory extended virtually to all Indian subcontinent. 526, Babur, who established the Mughal dynasty in India. The Mughals' empire lasted till 1857. Akbar was a great warrior, also wise and generous. He tolerated all religion and integrated with the population as far as possible. 14th to 16th century, we can see the emergence of Bhakti movement in India, with that in 17th century saw emergence of a new strong region and power, the Marathas. They rebelled against the Mughal ruler Aurangzeb late 18th century, and the Marathas established a very powerful state based in Pune under the great leader and patriotic Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj.
माटी की सौगंध उठाई धरती माँ पर मर मिटना शूर वीरों ने शपथ ली अधर्म के आगे कभी ना झुकना गुलामी से मुक्ति पाने को मावल लोग हुए राजी धरती का मान शिवाजी देश का अभिमान शिवाजी शूर वीरों की है ये धरती वीर वीर शिवाजी पालनहार, बुराई जिससे डर कर भागे ऐसी गूंजी है हुंकार। स्वराज्य हमारा है विस्तार, वीर शिवाजी की है दहाड़। मातृभूमि से गहरा नाता, वीर शिवाजी की ये गाथा। मातृभूमि से गहरा नाता, वीर शिवाजी की ये।
The Mughal dynasty lost its importance.
The British landed on the Indian subcontinent at the port of Surat on August 24, 1608 AD for the purpose of trade. The British started to establish their rule in India by the mid-18th century, confined to a few port cities. They managed to expand their power first to South India and then to Bengal. It was a gradual expansion in growth. The British allied with certain rulers to defeat their main enemies, and later they formed alliances with other rulers. It was a long process, following the doctrine of lapse and subsidiary alliances. The British then annexed almost all parts of India. The Revolt of 1857. In 1857, following the introduction of the Enfield rifle, there broke out the First War of Independence, also known as the Revolt of 1857 or the Sepoy Mutiny. Following this, the British Crown became the ruler of the Indian subcontinent. Continued in the 19th century, resources and livelihood of Indians were drained to boost the Industrial Revolution of England. Indians suffered huge famines and distress. Our struggle, the freedom struggle. The period from 1920 to 1947 had been described as the Gandhian era. Mahatma Gandhi led the freedom struggle against the British. Gandhiji used a new path to freedom, using truth, non-violence, and satyagraha. Slowly, the khadi and the charkha became strong symbols of the Indian nationalist movement. Gandhiji opposed the British through a series of movements like the non-cooperation movement, the civil disobedience movement, and the Quit India movement. On the 15th of August 1947, India finally became free.
We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship. Looking back on the work of the Constituent Assembly, it will now be 2 years, 11 months and 17 days since it first met on the 9th of December 1946. On the 26th January 1950, India would be a democratic nation, in the sense that India from that day would have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
On January 26, 1950, India became a democratic republic. Let the tricolour flag fly high and dye the sky with the colours of pride and patriotism. Sare jahan se acha Hindustan hamara. हम बुलबुले हैं इसकी, ये गुलसितां हमारा हमारा। जय हिंद, वंदे मातरम।